Well, I think, if you like, at the strategic level, companies are quite concerned about, what you might call geopolitical risks, like companies that want to invest in other countries. I think because of a lot of unrest and social unrest, people are quite concerned about, how some of those countries are going to develop, how the governments are going to develop, and it's quite a scary place in some of those countries. So I think that's a major issue for big corporates, social unrest in other countries. So, yeah.
Well, I look at things a little bit narrow-mindedly from the internal audit industry, because that's kind of where I am at the moment. And the risk-facing audit at the moment is the balance between compliance and between business partnering and the effect that has on independence. So I think that for me it's about trying to get that balance between the two in order to maintain independence, but at the same time add lots of value to the business. And as I say, by speaking to the guys in the industry in this event, it helps to actually understand how they approach that situation.
You've got to look beyond the economics, and you have to look at the human side of things. So clearly some of the big messages tonight were about some of the emerging markets struggling. What that means at a human level, at a personal level, is that the temptation for fraud or corruption is still there in lots of countries around the world. And that's something, as internal audit leaders, we have to be ever vigilant of at a very micro level. So hearing about the macroeconomics was fascinating, but you've got to translate that into the microeconomics of how people behave in a business environment, and that we have to be vigilant about the risks and the temptations of some of these countries which are still struggling with recovery.
Within the UK, the political climate, certainly around what is going to happen with Europe, the in and out vote, and Scottish independence are quite topical. Those are both things that businesses are concerned about in terms of what is the impact going to be, what is the government going to do. And then I think also from a regulatory perspective, there's been a lot of clamping down in the financial services sector, and what does that mean for business going forward? I think it's transforming the way businesses are funding and investing. So I think certainly those are topical and will continue to be topical going forward.
I think the biggest risk for many is people and skill. So they talked about in the past was supply but not enough demand. I think demand is increasing, so can we get the right skilled people to deliver on growth or changing requirements that we all have in our daily lives? Greater move to digital and technology. Do we have the skills and capabilities to work in that sort of environment?
I think economic risks as a whole are, of course, of high impact to any business. But I think each business has to look at its own internal risks and what they can actually control as a business, and look at that and focus their activities on mitigating those risks that they actually can mitigate, as opposed to focusing on what might the impact from external risk be. It's very much more difficult to control that.